Hey y'all, how you doing tonight? Welcome back to the ranch and welcome back to Invisible No More on the Eclipse Pain Network. I am Keith Johnson. I am your host. If you're a returning visitor to Invisible, welcome. You know what to expect. Sorry about that. If you're new to Invisible, what the hell is Invisible all about? Well, y'all, if you're dealing with an invisible diagnosis or symptoms, this is your home. And what do I mean? Deal with chronic pain, chronic illness, mental health struggles, some kind of diagnosis or symptoms that you're dealing with in your life that's causing you problems that people can't recognize when they walk up to you. That's invisible. And we're invisible no more because myself and so many other people involved in this thing are just getting tired of being quiet, because being quiet hasn't worked for us in the past. Before we get into this tonight, though, an important topic tonight, I want to warn you, you're going to see me relying on my notes a lot tonight, and that's not because I don't respect you or value you. Quite the opposite. The smart call here is not to do anything, just to stay in bed. But I can't because this topic is really that important to me, and there's so much friction going on right now. I want to get a lot of things cleared out. So you're going to see me referring to my notes heavily today. I apologize. Hopefully, whatever I'm dealing with is going to pause soon, and we'll be able to get back to our normal beings, right? So what is the topic tonight? The topic tonight is ableism. Woo, that's a biggie. And see, ableism is discrimination. It's discrimination in our cases in the visible community because it's discrimination against people with disabilities, chronic illness, chronic pain, mental health conditions, or people who haven't even gotten a diagnosis yet. They're still dealing with trying to get their symptoms figured out. It shows up in blanket statements, generalizations, judgments about an entire community based on assumptions, stereotypes, and or ignorance. Imagine that, ignorance. Here's the thing, though, about blanket statements like all disabled people are lazy. Chronic pain patients are drug seekers. How many of us have heard that if you're a chronic pain patient? Or mental health struggles is just a weakness. They just need to do better. These statements just aren't wrong. They're a fool's errand because the invisible community is made up of millions of people struggling with different diagnoses, different bodies, different lives. And you cannot, absolutely cannot, flatten all of us into one sentence and call it the truth. It's not just wrong, it's harmful. Every blanket statement adds another brick to the wall between disabled people and the care, respect, and dignity they deserve. Worse yet, this rigid style of thinking doesn't just isolate individuals with indivisible conditions. It infects entire professional populations. When generalization takes over, it turns doctors, construction workers, waitresses, servers, general laborers, construction folks, yes, even pharmacists, keyword now, pharmacists, into accidental or active agents of bias, creating a ripple effect of systemic failure. Today we're going to break down ableism, specifically why people believe and spread those harmful generalizations, how they poison everyday life and professions, and how dangerous medical misinformation keeps people from healing, keeps people from being possibly a little bit better every day, and why it all needs to stop. That's all on Invisible tonight, coming up next on the Eclipse Pain Network.
They want to give up on applying for disabilities.
Why?
Solely because they make it so hard.
Oh, okay.
They make you have to prove this and this and this and this.
This and this and this. Oh.
And they make you do the work to get all your medical records. And they make you do all the work to prove everything. And they make you do all the work to apply with all their paperwork.
So the application.
Hoops and hoops and hoops you have to jump through.
I'm pretty sure you could just do that online.
And all of this crap. And it's like, I'm disabled.
Well, yeah, I got that because you're applying for disability. So I would hope that you are actually disabled.
I can't even work a normal job.
But you can set up a phone and click go and speak.
How am I supposed to do this stupid fucking process?
Well, you figured out the phone.
How am I supposed to do the work that goes into this when it's nearly the same amount of work as getting a job?
I think that's kind of the point.
Like, applying for disability is the same process as applying for a job, basically.
Because you have to prove that you're disabled.
And it's so much work that I don't want to do it anymore.
The thing, though, is it really shouldn't be that difficult to prove that you're disabled if you're actually disabled. So I have a feeling you don't really need it. So I have a really good solution. Get a job. Okay, thanks.
That video right there is what we're talking about. And what's sad is I didn't have to search very hard or very far on social media to find that. In fact, social media delivered it up right to my feed for me. It was nice of them. But that's what we're talking about. It's ableism in action. And it's not rare. It's everywhere. It's in comment sections. It's in doctor's offices. It's in family conversations and workplaces. People consistently and constantly making sweeping judgments about our entire community based on nothing but bias and or ignorance. So why does it happen? Why do people bully, believe, and spread ableist statements? Well, I'm going to give you 4 reasons of why I think it's happening. Number 1, really fancy title, confirmation bias and anecdotal thinking. You see, people meet one person who seems to be milking the system, or they hear a story about someone abusing the system and they generalize that to the entire community. One bad example becomes proof and confirms what they already want to believe. They're not looking at data, research, or the millions of people doing everything right. They're cherry-picking the exception and they're calling it the rule. Another one would be fear of vulnerability, fear of the unknown. And what am I talking about here? See, disability, chronic illness, and mental health struggles remind able-bodied people that their own bodies are fragile and that life is extremely unpredictable. And that one day, too, they could become disabled. And that's terrifying. It scares the crap out of them. So instead of sitting with the vulnerability, instead of sitting down and going, what do I do if I become disabled? No, they create distance through judgment. See, if they can convince themselves that disabled people did something to deserve their situation, poor choices, lack of diet, lack of effort, moral failing, then they can believe it won't happen to them. Ableism really for them becomes a shield against their own fear of mortality. A third reason would be productive worship, and that's just a fancy way of saying, describing how our culture that we live in, especially here in the United States, measures you by your worth output, by what you produce, how hard you work, how much you contribute economically. Disability challenges that entire framework. When someone can't work the same way, can't function at the same pace, needs accommodations, or anything else, our productive-based society, obsessed on cultural labels, sees them as less valuable, as burdens, as lazy. See, in this situation, it's not really about the disabled people. It's about a toxic belief system that says your worth is tied to your output. And disabled people become collateral damage out of that ideology. Another one, at number 4, lack of exposure and just plain stupidity, ignorance. Many able-bodied people, I should say, have simply never had to think about disability, chronic illness, or invisible conditions. They've never had to navigate inaccessible spaces, fight insurance companies, or even explain invisible pain to an uncaring medical professional. Without that lived experience or education, they fill the gap in with their own assumptions. Usually assumptions rooted in whatever stereotypes they've absorbed from whatever source: social media, regular media, culture, hearsay, influencers. Ignorance isn't always malicious, but it's still harmful when it turns into public judgment. And here's something I want to make extremely clear, crystal clear. Making and believing blanket statements about an entire community is one of the most jacked up things you as a human being can do. When you say, or people say, all chronic pain patients are drug seekers, millions of people, millions of individual stories and individual struggles, individual truths are being discounted, thrown away, thrown in the shitter. Because when you do that, you're taking someone's lived reality and replacing it with your own assumption. Blanket statements ignore nuance. They ignore science. They ignore the fact that disability and chronic illness exist on a massive spectrum of causes, severities, and experiences. No two people's pain is exactly the same. No two people's mental health struggles are identical. No two disabilities present the same way. But there's two sides to this coin, because it's not just about strangers on the internet. Bad thinking infects the entire system. We have to look at it from both sides of the coin here. We have to hold ourselves responsible as well. Just as blanket statements harm the invisible community, casting entire professional groups with a single brush is a trap as well. For example, doctors. Yes, some doctors do dismiss legitimate symptoms as anxiety because of a generalized profile. But generalization cuts both ways. Doctors are navigating an overwhelmed, high burnout medical system where they are squeezed for time, trying to help people while buried under administrative and red tape. Painting every physician or every interventionalist as a cold, ableist gatekeeper ignores the incredible, compassionate, caring, empathetic doctors who are there fighting tooth and nail to get their patients the best care every single day. Another example, construction workers, laborers. See, some employers see coworkers that may have to ask for an accommodation, and they roll their eyes because they don't see how that limit exists in that person. Or even worse, you're driving down the road and you see three guys holding a stop sign up in a construction zone, and 90% of people are like, I'm paying for three people to hold a sign up? What lazy MFers those are. Again, making a general assumption about what you see, not knowing the entire story. Because just like labeling a chronic pain patient as a drug seeker, painting every physician as a cold ableist is wrong. And same thing with construction workers. When you see them lined up like that, you don't know if they're waiting for another truck or they're waiting for the supervisor, or maybe they're on lunch break. We don't know, but yet the assumptions are made, when a lot of them could be dealing with chronic pain of their own, or just doing whatever they can find to do to put food on the table for their families. But yet that assumption, that generalization is made. Another big one I see out there is what happens to servers, waitresses, and service workers at a restaurant. You see, I get it. Some service workers, some waiters, some waitresses may judge a person in a wheelchair because they don't look disabled. And when we judge all servers like that, or all busboys like that, but without even realizing what is going on in their life, not to mention like the life events, but the work they're doing. If you've ever been a server or a waitress, you know what it's like to be on your feet for 12 to 14 days, hustling food and drinks, all hoping you're going to get that tip. It happens. And yes, happens even to pharmacists, that is. We've all dealt with the stigma at the counter. If you haven't yet in the visible community, you will, I promise you, unfortunately, where you're at that counter picking up valid medications, but yet you get treated like a criminal. But you don't understand, a lot of people look over the fact that pharmacists are also caught up in the crossfire of rigid policies, liability fears, DEA, broken prescription tracking systems. Stereotyping every pharmacist as an adversary ignores the ones who are advocating for their patients and help them navigate impossible insurance loops that we have to get through. So here's the bottom line. Stereotyping entire professions is just as bad as stereotyping the invisible community. When we reduce a doctor, a pharmacist, a waitress, a construction worker to a single negative label, we are doing the exact damn thing ableism and ableists do to the invisible community: chronic pain, chronic illness, mental health struggle. We strip away their individuality, and we ignore the systemic pressures that they're trapped inside of. Here's the thing. Even if you want to say all doctors are bad or all pharmacists are pharmacists, living that type of lifestyle where you choose to live through blanket statements, there's dangers in that. There's dangers when blanket statements cross the line from insulting to downright medical issues. Like one influencer who proudly still touts that getting an ESI, an epidural steroid injection, will paralyze you. Or all spinal procedures will ruin your body for the rest of your life, if not kill you. That type of misinformation is lethal to hope. And it's profoundly dangerous because it may prevent folks from finding real life-altering, life-benefiting, quality of life increasing treatments. Patients in agonizing pain hear these absolute horror stories and panic and completely turn away from viable, recommended treatment plans that could give them some of their life back. Generalizations stop being opinions at that point. They become barriers to healing. Now, a quick note. I think everybody needs to know what happened to you if you had a bad experience with an ESI or a steroid or a nerve stimulator or gabapentin. People need to know what happened to you. But at the same time, making that general statement, you'll be paralyzed if you get an ESI, what does that do? Where is that based in fact? Where is that based in science? Where is that based in anything but bullshit? Attention-grabbing bullshit. I'm not saying these are the safest procedures in the world and that they'll even work for everybody. But when you tell people not to do it because they'll get paralyzed or they'll die and you scare them away from it, you are sending them home without the benefit of a full treatment plan, possibly. How's that make you feel, buckaroo? That person at home suffering when that steroid injection might have helped them, when that gabapentin may not have given them dementia and they may have gotten relief? Where's the benefit in preventing people from honestly researching and trying something for themselves and instead of demanding they don't do? I can't find it. So please, leave it in the comments. See, when you believe in blanket statements, you stop seeing individuals. You start seeing a stereotype. You start believing that every chronic pain patient that takes an opioid is a druggie. You start believing every pain management doctor is a bad person, that every nurse will hate you, that every ER experience will be horrific. You start believing that the pharmacist is personally out to kill you. It's exactly how systemic discrimination works. Sometimes it's not always overt hatred. Sometimes it's lazy thinking. Sometimes it's just people refusing to do the work of seeing others as individuals instead of categories. So that next time you hear a blank statement about disabled people, chronic pain patients, treatment plans, mental health community, doctors, nurses, pharmacists, waiters, waitresses, construction workers, truck drivers, cruise ship workers, maybe stop to think. Are you basing this opinion on facts or medical science, or is it a bias dressed up as a fact? Ableism thrives on generalizations. It survives because people don't want to challenge the sweeping statements they hear an influencer say. They survive on sweeping statements that because based on feelings instead of facts. It's crazy. Because for too many people, it's easier to believe a stereotype than to do the work of understanding humans. You don't know the battle that person's fighting, but yet you stereotype them and you blanket statement their whole experience away. From chronic pain, chronic illness, mental health, to pharmacists, to doctors, to Indian chiefs, to workers. You stop seeing them as humans, but as a category that you're against. We need to stop looking at categories and start seeing people as people. It's Invisible No More on Eclipse Pain Network for a Thursday night. Thank you for joining me. If you don't agree with me, I'm sorry, that's fine. We all have different opinions. I would ask you to leave your comments and where I'm wrong and where you think I'm wrong, and let's have an open, honest discussion. Ableism blanket statements go hand in hand, y'all. There's no difference. There is no difference between saying that every chronic pain patient is a druggie. There's a difference between that blanket statement and saying that every pharmacist is a pharmacist. You're just changing the category of people. You're just changing your vision. They're both stereotypes. It's both ableism. It's both you know that person better than they know themselves. If that's you, you be you. Free will. Best of luck to you. You won't find that with me, and you won't find that with Invisible. I love you guys, and we will see you if you're around. There will be a live tonight, Thursday night, on TikTok at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. If not, we will see you right here next Thursday. Y'all have a great great day, and I hope you find your victories. And if no victories, at least I hope it's going to be a little bit better. Y'all be safe. Peace.